Nothing.
But, yeah,
Nothing.
Makes me angry, mate. All of it. It's just an angry person I am.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo! Zamora!
And I always be around when you need some love and baby. No one else.
Let you down. Sing all my melodies,
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 135. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, you're home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please do give us a follow on social media. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Cannot tell you how important that is for our growth. Liking videos helps us get higher up the search engines on YouTube, Google, things like that. These are the things that help us continue our growth. So please do click the bell for notifications. If you prefer your podcast in audio version, every series we put out in audio format. You can get them at your favourite podcast or radio platform just by searching Ace Podcast Nation. Well over 400 shows there now on different subjects. And of course, if you want to keep your social media experience purely football, follow at AC Footy Show on all social media and support the show that way as well. But of course, everything which we do with the show is free. Free content, free social media, free everything. We are bringing it to the people, for the people. And of course, it's been a busy week in the football world. Lots and lots to talk about. But just as we wait for those the platforms to fill up, the latecomers, the stragglers to arrive, a big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever. They are a global sports agency. They represent sports stars from around the world. And for more information on what they do, and they are doing some phenomenal things at the moment, you can visit their social media page and of course their website. Links to which are in the description below and in the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor, Bespoke Financial, as ever. We're very proud to partner up with them. They've been a long-term sponsor of the show now, and Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. Please do check him out, give him a call, and don't miss out on what is an amazing offer. Tell him that we sent you. And of course, he's looked after Andy with various policies over the years, including critical illness, injury cover, and they're truly top of their field. They've won many an award for their service. We are very proud to partner with such a top-class brand, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. And I encourage you all to contact them, see what they've got to offer. I'm sure they'll be able to find a package or a service which will help you guys out, and that's what we're about, is helping the people. So, with no further ado, let's introduce the man, the myth, the legend. He is the goal collector, the fox in the box. Some might say he is a speed demon. He's the pie-eating goal machine of the Middlesbrough over 40s league, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, and not forgetting Davy Jones's favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Si. been a listen. It's been a great week for British football. Let's put one thing out there straight away. I know Arsenal got a negative
Arsenal
result, but they're still in it. Still got an opportunity. But British football is on the up. The Championship is unbelievable. We've had another promotion. We've had the playoffs sorted out, and then we're going to go through it all. We've had someone relegated, which is never nice, and everything could start to look a little bit different come 3 o'clock tomorrow and 5 o'clock tomorrow. Everything could be done and dusted in the league, so to speak, after tomorrow, which is a scary thought for some clubs.
Spot on, mate. Lots to talk about from the Championship point of view, and lots to go through. I'm hoping that we can just get that derby. Was it Derby Rotherham on the last day of the season?
Derby Chef Wed.
Yeah, if we could get that where the loser goes down on the last day of the season, that'll be a watch along, worth a watch along just on its own. But everything is settled, which is unusual. It's not normally really all settled up the top by this stage, but it is what it is. We can't control it. That's why we love the beautiful game. And I noticed Gavin's not in the chat yet. He told me how Roma were going to stomp all over United. That didn't happen, just to point that out. And that being the king of the links, mate, that takes us nicely into our first little thing of the evening, our first feature of the evening, as it were. And tonight we are going to go with Tell Me Why, where you have 60 seconds to talk about a question or a subject. I'm sure you can guess what the subject's going to be, but there's a few questions I've got on that subject, so let's go. Okay, tell me why. So first, the subject, the European semi-final first legs. Okay, obviously Chelsea had a very solid performance result. City and United showed tremendous skill and mentality to come back from behind. Arsenal crumbled a little bit before giving a bit of hope towards the end of the game. But I want you to talk to me first and foremost about each game and give like a little mini review before I ask you a couple more questions on the various games. And your time starts now.
Chelsea, I thought, were very good in the first half. I thought they gave a good account of themselves. They kept the ball really well. They scored a really good goal through Pulisic, but to go away from home and to dominate a game against the might of Real Madrid is difficult for the full 90. When they started bringing Hazard on and they were causing more problems going forward, more Benzema equalised. You can't keep them quiet for the full 90. They've got world-class footballers. Man City, game of two halves. I thought Paris Saint-Germain did a little bit better in the first half, kept Man City quiet. But second half, I thought Man City were excellent. Got a little bit fortunate with the first goal, but I thought the second goal was outstanding from Mahrez, a free kick. Similar thing in the Europa League. Man United absolutely blew them away second half. I thought they were absolutely out of this world. You know what I mean? There was a few conscientious decisions which I didn't agree with, but you know what I mean, that you spine and you deal with them now. But deserved the win in the end. I thought Chris Smalling was diabolical for Roma. Arsenal, you just mentioned there, crumbled a little bit, but they've got themselves a fighting chance. That away goal could be key come the second leg.
100%, and that's about your 60 seconds as well, mate. Well done. So before we discuss like that in detail, I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions. You can do the 60 seconds for each question if you like, make it a bit more fun. But let's have a go. So the first question: which players stood out for you from each game or team or whatever? 60 seconds, go.
Benzema for me for Real Madrid. I think for them, he leads the line really well. He's very clever at what he does. He hasn't got the legs anymore, but he's clever with the run and what he does, his movement in the box, his goal scoring ability. I don't think he gets the credit what he deserves, and he's never mentioned as a world class centre forward. From Chelsea's point of view, Mason Mount I thought was very good, technically very good. He gets on the ball in good areas. He's brave. He turns up for the big games, which could be a good thing for England. Very exciting, looking forward to that. If he can continue his performances through to his country. So that's that game.
Yeah, you got so you got 20 seconds, mate. Come on, you got
on that
3
game.
Games to go.
I thought I was doing 60 seconds for one game.
No. Just
I'm struggling on it now.
I'll give you an extra 30 seconds.
Mahrez for Man City, I thought he was outstanding. Do you know what? We're on about people being brave. He gets the ball in areas, and he's never always classed as Man City's best player behind De Bruyne and even Foden now. that Mahrez he's like a silent assassin. He gets on the ball. His free kick taking, his set piece taking, his ability to take people on and set chances up is outstanding. I thought John Stones was excellent as well. You know, credit where credit's due. He's had a couple of bad weeks for Paris Saint-Germain. I thought they were bang average. I thought defensively they were better than offensively, which is crazy considering the amount of money that they've got going forward. I thought Mbappe and Neymar were relatively quiet or got kept quiet, but it's only halfway there, so it's all down to play for in that game.
So that's your time up really. But in terms of, I thought John Stones showed a tremendous amount of mentality to come back from a bad couple of weeks and perform like that. Mate, I've said a couple of times recently, I got to say, I just think PSG are bang average, and I think the problem they get when they get to these levels, the semi-finals, the finals of those top European competitions, is yes, they've got some incredible pace and attacking players. Their defence is never has to be good domestically because the French league is so poor. There's like 3 teams who are really any good, and I think that's where they have their problems because they were a shambles at points.
It doesn't prepare your side, does it? It doesn't prepare you.
No.
You know what I mean? If you've got 4 easy games before the Champions League, how can you prepare properly for a big game? You know what I mean? Where Man City in the league, they're playing some Man Uniteds, they're playing even West Ham's. You know what I mean? They're playing stubborn teams which defend really well, and then they play attacking teams where they've got to defend really well. So the Premier League's a different animal to the French league, and I feel sorry for Paris Saint-Germain in that aspect, but.
You can't control your opponents, can you?
No,
that's the problem. But then look at Roma, mate. Roma were bang average, mate. United should have won 9-2 because Cavani missed 3 clear-cut chances.
The easy ones,
He was very good, but like they missed a couple of chances, and the 2 goals which Roma did score were mistakes, and I can't even start talking about some of the handballs I've seen given recently. I get that it like the letter of the law is handballs, but it's like what are you supposed to do with your hands at the end of the day? The final question I wanted to ask you before we have a little quick chat about the European games just generally is, should Man United keep Edson Cavani? It looked like he was going a couple of weeks ago to Boca Juniors. It's been reported today on BBC that he's probably going to stay. And my question to you, I guess, is can he be part of a title-winning squad if United was to re-sign him and then strengthen in the right areas, which I don't think they'll do, but if they do, or should they really be looking to move on to like a younger number 9?
It's a difficult one, Si, isn't it? Because you can only judge him on performances, and the performances that he's putting in, like last night, and some of the other games that he's coming on, he's scoring goals, he's leading the line really well. One thing he does do at Man United, he fits the mould of a target man, and he allows Rashford, he allows Fernandes, he allows Greenwoods, he allows Martial to go to the other side of him. And Man United haven't had that for a long, long time, by the way. You know what I mean? When they were successful, Van Nistelrooy did it. Even Ronaldo, when he led the line, and Rooney did it. They need that number 9 to hold the ball up and to stay in the box and to win headers and just be big and strong and do the things that the other players don't want to do. And if United can find somebody to fit the bill and take the Cavani mould, they can't get rid of him unless they replace him. They can't go and play Rashford up there, regardless if Rashford thinks he's a centre forward or he's not. He's not in the kind of mould. He wants to run in behind. He won't hold on the ball. You know what I mean? It's like Man City play without a false 9. Man United can't do that without a big centre forward. With the way that Man United play, they can't afford to do it. They play wide, they play crosses, they play fullbacks. There's no point crossing the ball into a Rashford, to a Greenwood. They need a Cavani in the box.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think that showed last night because obviously he doesn't play every game, but like he was, whilst I don't think he was the best player on the pitch, I think everything went through him.
He's effective though, very effective.
Yeah, oh
very
god,
effective.
His linker play is superb. He's always in the right place in the box. He anticipates everything. He's still, he's super fit. He's generally a good finisher. United scored some quality goals last night.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But I got to say, by the way, I've criticised Solskjaer a lot for his tactics. Like I do think still he's a bit tactically naive. But you know what he has done? Is he's found a place in that side for Pogba to play with freedom and have a bit of a free role without leaving himself, exposed and if he loses the ball, going for something a bit ambitious. And Pogba's been good lately anyway, but I thought last night he was pretty much, he had the penalty, which whatever. apart from that, I thought he was pretty much faultless. And by the way, he did all that whilst fasting, which is, that just adds another.
Listen, he grabbed the
level
game,
to it,
he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. He showed how much quality he's got. He raises his game for the big games, and it's a scary thought, that
him and Fernandes together is a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. One thing I will say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know what I mean? That half time, all the pundits were giving him loads of stick. He needs to bring on some substitutes. He needs to change his tactics. One thing he's got some heart and some desire and some belief in his players. So he's picked the right team. Listen, he changed his side at Leeds United on Sunday. So he knew exactly what his team was going to be for Roma. He sees that as the most important game because it's a cup semi-final. And to be honest, with the way that the result went and the game went, if they don't go through from this position, then they don't deserve to be in the Europa League. They don't deserve to be in any kind of cup competition. So he's done a great job. United will always score goals. You know what I mean? If they've got the attacking players with the pace on the break, with the players they've got in set pieces and things. So he's doing a great job. What is he, second in the league?
He's got better. He's improved them every year, mate. Is the other thing since he's taken over. If you can't win a cup semi-final with a 4-0 head start, basically in a one-off game, even with the 2 away goals, you don't deserve to be in the final, do you?
Yeah.
And like you say, United are better away, and they, you just expect them to score at least one, even if they lose the game.
It's just the way the players style. Listen, they play on the break,
don't they?
They play on the break, and that's what they caught out Roma with, because Roma didn't expect them to do that, but they did it every time and still didn't learn from the mistake. So they played yesterday an Italian way of playing.
Mm.
And they caught Roma.
That's when they've struggled, is when teams have sat back on them, isn't it? When teams try and press, and that's what Roma did very well in the first half, is they pressed as a unit. So if one went, they all went, which is great. But eventually, if you keep doing that against that United side, they will punish you. And also, I thought the manager made a bit of an error for Roma. Obviously, with these stupid, the timings where you've got to make subs with injuries and stuff, he couldn't make any subs. If he had to make his subs at half time. And I just thought to not make any more subs was a mistake, because you can't change the game then, and United are going to come out and they're 2-1 down. They're going to try and get at you. So he should have freshened it up in some way, form.
But also, Si, I look at the players on the pitch to take responsibility. Listen, you're 4-2 down. You're 4-2 down in the semi-final of a cup. If you stay at 4-2 for the rest of the game, you still got a chance second leg.
Result,
you know what I mean? It's not a bad result.
result.
So why didn't the players just shut up shop and see the game out and just take a 4-2 defeat? You didn't need to still go forward and go on attack. You didn't need to be gung-ho and cause your own problems. Roma have caused their own downfall by playing the way that they played for the full 90 minutes. It's a game of 2 games, and they've just blown it in the first game.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I just want to quickly touch on Arsenal, mate, because Arsenal were, in my opinion, up until probably the last 20 minutes, pretty disgraceful for a semi-final. I know Villarreal, I saw on social media, I saw even some of the comments in our chats, people underestimating how good Villarreal are. They're a good side, a good cup side. But I just thought Arsenal were pretty bang average. They've been, was it last Friday or the Friday before? I think we said it was one of the worst. I think we said it last week, but it was the Friday before. One of the worst Premier League performances we'd ever seen from a top 6 club. Is what it is, but that penalty's kept them in it, haven't it?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on Arsenal. I'd love someone to tell me any different, but I looked at Arsenal's bench last night when I'm watching the highlights of the game, and so listen to some of the names what I've wrote down. So we've got Aubameyang, you've got Bellerin, you've got El Neni, you've got David Luiz, you've got Willian. You know what I mean? These players potentially should walk into any Premier League side, probably below the top 6. So, you know what I mean? When you've got young players, you've got Smith Rowe, you've got Saka playing, you've got Murray, young player playing, you've got Rob Holding, you've got Chambers playing. Surely those experienced players are players who bring their best game to the table on the big occasion. And for me, picking a young side, it looked like a young performance. It looked like a young, naive start, and they got caught out. And luckily, somehow they've got a chance second leg, because I guarantee you, second leg, you will see a different side by Arsenal and more experience in the side, 100%.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? To me, their best player is Aubameyang, if your best player is your centre forward, you play him at every game you can because he's the one that's going to win you football matches. They played such a young side. Xhaka's a liability anyway, both from a discipline point of view and performances. You never quite know what he's going to do. Same with David Luiz, but ultimately David Luiz is very experienced, so you could play him in the middle just to give Holding a bit of experience next to him and talk him through it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Whether maybe Arteta underestimated Villarreal. I wouldn't have thought so. He's Spanish. He'd be well aware of their record.
Yeah.
But I was not impressed at all.
Well, give credit to them though as well. You know what I mean? You've got next Arsenal manager who had a point to prove. His celebration for both the goals, you could tell, was more than just a goal. It was a pure relief semi-final against my old club. He wanted to win, and do you know what? If he ends up going through because of his first leg performance and result, then listen, he probably deserves it. You know what I mean? Because they dominated the game, and I can't see them going to the Emirates and not scoring as well. So Arsenal are going to have to go and score too.
Yeah. Just very last thing I want to say on this. Two players I wanted to mention. Paco Alcácer of Villarreal is a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah, he's a good footballer. Yeah,
and
very
I
good.
just
leads the line really well.
Yeah, he deserves to be playing Champions League football for probably a bigger stage than what he's at. And also Ibanez, who plays in defence for Roma, he deserves better, mate. He did not deserve to be on the end of a 6-2 drubbing. I've heard for the last 6-12 months that Chris Smalling should be back in the England squad. On last night's performance, mate, he should be absolutely nowhere near that squad.
He shouldn't be anywhere near the Roma side if he's playing like that.
He was dreadful.
One thing what Arsenal might get some joy from though is obviously the ex-Tottenham and Watford midfielder Capuy got sent off. So I thought he was excellent in midfield.
Yes,
I thought
he's a good.
I thought he protected really well. So if he knows the English game, so he passes experience on. He did. So I think he'll be a big miss in the second leg. Obviously Arsenal got a man sent off as well. So obviously Caballos. So who will be the bigger miss for me? It'll be Capuy, 100%.
Yeah, I think so because Arsenal have got Coquelin, they got David Luiz who can play that role. So there's a few different ones. Also, I mean, Reece makes a good point about Smalling. He says, to be fair, he's just suffered a horrific home robbery where him and his wife and stuff were attacked. So maybe that's played into it a bit. And obviously, if he's left his wife at home in Italy when he's come to Manchester, that could be playing on his mind. But I wasn't impressed by the performance. And
it's not that's not nice, is it? It's not nice.
No, of course.
If he's not in the right frame of mind, then he shouldn't be playing.
Play.
You know what I mean? So
he should take himself out of it, shouldn't he? For a big game like that.
Yeah. It's a difficult one because he wants to play because he doesn't want to not play against United because it looks poor on his CV to not play against his club.
Yeah.
Is he bottling it if he doesn't play? So you can see it from both points. But of course, listen, that might be the first time he's been away since, so you just never know, do you?
100%. A couple of comments I want to address very quickly. Gav, the story you mentioned about the Scottish player who quit football and regarding mental health and stuff, we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. We have seen it. We are going to talk about it. Geraint says, Harry Kane to United, ? So I'll add on to that. If you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, would you rather have Cavani for potentially, say, 2 seasons, or would you rather spend 100 million plus on Harry Kane? Bearing in mind you could spend that 100 million plus elsewhere on a Jadon Sancho or whoever.
Listen, I'd like Harry Kane. For me, if United got Harry Kane, I think he might be the final piece in a real Premier League pushing campaign. Well, on his own, because I think the goals that he scores out of nothing, the way he leads the line, if he can stay injury free, by the way, because I know he's had a couple of injuries this year. He's played a lot of football because he's their talisman. Would he be able to be rotated at United for certain games? I believe he would, because they've got a better squad. Where at Spurs, he doesn't get rotated because he's the main man. You look at the joy that Son gets. You look at the joy that Lucas Moura gets because they run around him and do the things that he doesn't want to do. So I think with Rashford, Greenwood, Martial, Pogba, Fernandes, he's got better and more players to do that, which would be, that would be scary, by the way. It would be unbelievable.
So if you'd asked me a couple of years ago whether I thought they should sign him, I probably would have said no. I didn't think he was what they need. Having seen how they play with Cavani in the side and how they play without Cavani in the side, and the way Solskjaer's got Pogba and Fernandes playing together in the same side, I agree with you. Harry Kane with Fernandes and Pogba behind him, with a Rashford and a Greenwood or Martial out wide, or Dan James is quite a prospect. If they
But
can sort their defence out.
you look at the money though. Listen, £100 million, if that's a transfer fee, what's getting rooming around. If you sign him on a 5-year or 6-year deal, it's something like £20 million a year, which is nothing. It's not a lot. You know what I mean? So if it was for a 2-year deal, I would run a mile. I don't think I'd do it because it's too much of a risk. But I think if Harry's like he is and he keeps himself right like he does, and his professionalism is like it is, then for me he's got another 5-6 years at this very top level.
Yeah, I mean, Geraint says like six years for Harry Kane. You paying 100 million for that 6 years, and you. There was another comment I wanted to bring your attention to, mate. I thought you'd appreciate it. I think it was Reece said John Sheridan has resigned as manager of Swindon before they were confirmed
Before
as
they got
relegation.
relegated,
So he does not have relegation on his CV. Is that clever, or is that like a bit? I don't want to say weak, but like, is he bottling it a little bit? Should he basically front up and see the season out before he resigns?
I'll throw it onto a similar point. Bristol Rovers got relegated last weekend. Joey Barton, the manager. Joey Barton probably already knew they were going to get relegated when he took over. And do you know what I respect about Joey the most? That he's took that job knowing he's going to have it on his CV, but he's at a club where he thinks he can get them back up at a first go. I respect that more than people walking away, because do you know what? Having a relegation on your CV doesn't make you a bad manager. It just means that you've got the pressure next year to go and do the job which you're expected to do and go and get promoted with a group of players and a bit of backing from your chairman and your manager. Don't run away. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he has run away. I'm just saying, for me, I know we have a bit of fun and he's had loads of clubs, but if you're a chairman now and you see he's walked away from a club getting relegated, are you going to hire him next season? Not for me.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like, why wouldn't you just see out the? It's not as if you can hide behind it and say, it wasn't my fault, or he's the manager. They got relegated. Just buck stops with him. Like, it doesn't make much sense to me, because he's not like he's going to start a new job now before the end of the season.
No.
So he's not going anywhere. He's just. No. It feels like he's just done it to.
It's a strange one. It's a strange one because
it doesn't make any sense.
Because I'm guessing he had more than 6 months left on his contract, or 3 months left on his contract. So why not just see it out? So it's unless he's going into another job, which wouldn't surprise me also.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one, mate. Okay, so just before we move on to the championship, mate, tell the people about Monday.
Oh yeah, so Monday we did have a guest lined up. Unfortunately, our guest has got himself a new job at a football club in the Championship, and will be coming to us at a later date, because obviously now he's just bedding himself in. He doesn't want to distract from what he's doing. He's busy at the minute through the timings and through the days and through the evenings. So we are deciding to do a no holds barred questions from the viewers, subjects from the viewers. We'll have some topics thrown to and from you, hopefully over the weekend. Anything you want us to talk about, anything you want us to discuss. So straight away when you come in on Monday, if you throw some topics or something at us, we will find it and discuss it. Or as many questions as you want. If that's about my career, if that's about size, anything, no holds barred. I think we're gonna have a little bit of fun, and we're gonna go back to the olden days, so to speak, with me and Si.
The old school flavour, mate.
Yeah.
It'd be fun though, because it's not a secret. Like our most viewed show of all time, or it's not the two. There was previously the top 2 shows of all time for views on YouTube was the 2 shows me and Andy did on our own over Christmas. However, I think Andy's brother's taken over one of those now.
Don't say that. He might be listening.
Yeah, but previously it was the Mehmet Dalman show, which obviously was good, but that was overtaken by the one we did over Christmas, which has got like 15,000 views or something on YouTube, I think, last time I looked. So yeah, it'll be fun. It's something different, mix it up. And I think the shows where we do just me and you on a Monday, they always do quite well. So people like obviously a little bit of a switch up. So why not?
Geraint's just put something in there. I've been promising that for months, probably since we started the show about trophies and things. So do you know what I'll
trophies.
do? I will get my top 5. I'll try and put them in order from 5 to 1, and I will bring them out and explain them and why they are so special to me. But I'll get them all out. As you can see, one, but the ones below, which listen, they're all so special to me. So it'd be difficult for me to try and get that in order. But I will do it for you for Monday.
What a gent! Let's get into the championship, mate, because it's been a week and a half, mate, to say the least. It's interesting. A bit worrying to hear that Cardiff City have said they have to sell before they're buying, but not a massive shock either. No. I don't think. Couple of contracts renewed. Nigel Pearson got a new deal at Bristol City. I was a little bit surprised by that, just because they've been so poor. But maybe they're looking long term. Kyle Norton signed a new contract with Swansea. Barnsley extended the Daryl Dyk's stay from Orlando City to cover the playoffs, which is obviously, they needed to make sure of that. But let's start at the bottom, as is tradition, and work our way up. First and foremost, mate, Wycombe Wanderers all but down after the Cardiff loss.
Yeah, listen, gutted for them. You know what I mean? Not mathematically down. They can still stay up if they win 8-0 and 8-0 or whatever they do, and everyone else losing games. Not going to happen. You know what I mean? Gareth was very honest after the game and got beat by the better side at the weekend. They give it everything they had. One massive point I want to say. Obviously, we've had him as a guest on the show. Joe Jacob made his 300th appearance for Wycombe. Scored against his hometown club. Listen, things like that don't happen enough. It's a fairy tale. You know what I mean? One thing that I was gutted for Joe. I texted him straight after the game, and I texted him first and foremost, mate, sorry about what happened, as in relegation, all but relegation. But so proud, and I bet your family are so proud that he scored a goal against Cardiff City, and I so wish that they were there to celebrate with you, because it would be a huge thing. I know Joe's dad's especially goes to all his games, or used to go to all his games when he was allowed, but he'll have watched the game, he'll have been so proud, and fair play to Joe. You know what I mean? He celebrated a goal, which, do you know what?
Good.
I respected, because 300 games for a football club against his heroes is a big thing for Joe. You know what I mean? So I'm pleased for him, but pleased obviously Cardiff got the victory. Gutted for Gareth. Gareth's obviously a friend of mine, but he'll come back either stronger with Wycombe Wanderers, or he will stay in the Championship.
Yeah, I think so. I think Joe Jacobson, I'd be amazed if a Championship club doesn't go in for him.
What one in blue?
Well, Cardiff actually addressed their fullback problem, haven't they? So that would be my only concern. But I mean, you can never have too much quality, can you? And Joe can do it. Joe can fill in some other positions, so there's that as well. I would love to see him back in Cardiff.
It's a set pieces. It's a set pieces that he brings, the quality that he brings. That we always go on about certain players, the Bradley Dacks, the Barry Bannums, these kind of players. Joe's up there, if not the best. He scores goals from corners. He sets goals up from corners. He scores penalties. He's a master at what he does. You know what I mean? He's adapted his game because he's got older. You know what I mean? Which is a scary thought, considering he's still a baby. But it's listen, he's a very talented boy, footballer, man. So fair play to him.
I'd be amazed, mate, if he's not in the Championship next year.
Well, I'll be honest. Part of my conversation with him was, you never know what's around the corner. Football's a strange game, and you know what I mean. You've got aspirations to play at the top level and to play in the Championship. You've done well this season, so don't.
He has been. I dare say he might even be in my team of the year, mate. And which is strange for a defender to be in your team of the year when they've got relegated. But that's how good he's been and consistent he's been. That if you asked me to name a team of the year, he'd probably be in the squad at least, maybe even in the 11. That's how good he's been, in my opinion. But we'll see. Yeah. We will see, my friend. Next up, Sheffield Wednesday.
I watched Sheffield Wednesday against Middlesbrough, and they look like they're a relegated team. They were average for long periods. Defensively, they were absolutely all over the place. They got an opportunity through a penalty, which was a penalty. But I thought defensively side, they were all over the place. You know what I mean? They didn't have much going for them, and towards the end of the game, they had to go for it. Kadeem Harris on the bench, which I found a ridiculous decision. Jordan Rhodes, you know what I mean? We're on about teams here who needs to win a football match. So if you need to win games, surely your best way of winning a game is by having your best wingers on the pitch, your best centre forwards on the pitch. So unless the new managing team doesn't see that or those players as their best players, then maybe they're missing something. But those players are big name players, and next season they could all be League One footballers if they're not careful.
Yes, I agree, mate. And let's not forget they should be down already. It's tricky, isn't it? It's they've been poor, and they're gonna have to really find something. They're gonna need
they play tomorrow.
Bannon and others to do something special.
They play Nottingham Forest tomorrow at 12 o'clock, so they could be relegated by 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and Forest got nothing to play for, really, have they?
No, which is a scary thought. And listen, we're on about lads here who have to play with that pressure now because they've got to go and win 2 games. They can't drop points. They can't. Yeah. They've got to go there and they've got to win 2 games, 2 football games. And what goes with trying to win games or having to win games is you leave gaps at the other end.
Yes, spot on, mate. Next is Rotherham. They had all those games in hand. They've lost 4 on the bounce, which is devastating for them. But they've still got a game in hand on Derby. If they win that game in hand, they are on 42 points, which takes them a point below Derby County.
The worrying thing for me, Si, is we were all saying that they've got these games in hand, but the problem is because they didn't play them due to COVID, the league's fitted them in, and they fitted them in really badly for the players that they've had to play 4 games a week, which is a really hard thing for them to swallow. They've been beaten this week by Barnsley, no disgrace, 1-0, by Brentford, 1-0, no disgrace. I thought they were excellent in both games, but the results mean that they've lost 2 games.
Mate,
yeah, well, exactly. You know what I mean? So you're playing against the best teams, and tomorrow they play Blackburn. I'll be honest, I think that's probably one of the worst teams you can play because Blackburn with no fear, Armstrong. You know what I mean? The Blackburn could go and beat you 5-0, but then you could go and beat them 5-0. It just depends which side Tony Mowbray picks and which sides turn up. But I look at Rotherham's fixtures to finish: Luton Town away, Cardiff City away. You know what I mean? The 2 games there where Luton will want to put Rotherham down because obviously there's history there with promotion a couple of years ago. And Cardiff City, you've got a player like Kiefer Moore who's going to want to get 25 goals this season, for example. So he's going to want to score goals. So you're probably playing against 3 of the worst teams with nothing to play for.
Yeah, that's the problem. You don't know who's going to turn up to you in terms of... I mean, the one thing with Rotherham, I guess, is when you look at those fixtures, when you play in teams who you know, Blackburn got nothing to play for, Luton got nothing to play for, will they take their foot off the gas, or will they, excel because they're so relaxed? It can go one of 2 ways, can't it? Ultimately, mate, they need to win those games. They need to win all 3, I think, because Derby under pressure. And let's move on to Derby. They lost to Birmingham 2-1. Following on from 2 other losses to Preston and Blackburn. They're in big trouble, make no mistake. But I look at their fixtures.
Swansea away tomorrow.
Swansea away tomorrow. If I'm Swansea, mate, I'm resting the majority of my team tomorrow. And this is
your issue, haven't you? You know what I mean? We just spoke about players who've got nothing to play for. But when I mean they've got nothing to play for, I mean that even if you rotate your players, those players have got a point to prove. You know what I mean? Tomorrow, Swansea, for example, will be playing against a Swansea side who don't want to pick any injuries up because any injury now will probably rule you out for the playoffs. So if you're going in for a 50-50 tackle, are you really going to go in for it? You know what I mean? Are you want to get, if you take a red card, you're going to miss the playoffs. You know what I mean? Players are not going to make these kind of rash decisions. So you know what I mean? Derby County are in a position tomorrow where if they win, they're going to send everybody down.
Yeah, it's a shame that last game of the season for Derby is against Sheffield Wednesday and not against Rotherham, because I feel like if it was against Rotherham, that would be setting up nicely for a phenomenal finish. But Sheffield Wednesday are more likely to be down by then. I feel for Rotherham because they've had some good moments. Yeah. But Derby County, mate, they've gone to pieces recently.
Yeah, well, was it 5 defeats on the belt? You know what I mean? At home against Birmingham, they're 1-0 ahead at half time, and you get to the hour mark. You know what I mean? Jukovic But then you see it out. A point in that game probably would have kept them up because it's a point away from safety. I know that sounds ridiculous what we're talking about, but 84 minutes giving a winner in a game, that's what it is, because that goal could come back and really haunt Derby County, and they can't afford to. You know what I mean? Is that the naivety from the manager? Is that because he's lacking experience? Are the players lacking experience because they've never been in this position before? Because they've always been towards the top end, really. You know what I mean? So it's new for everybody.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Next up is Huddersfield Town, mate.
Listen, they're all over the place. They've had a shocking end to the season. They're lucky that they've got 47 points, because if they had 45, I think they could be in trouble to go down. Because to go to Blackburn Rovers and just throw the towel in, you know what I mean? We've said that this thing a couple of times about teams who look like they're on the holidays. You know what I mean? For me, at the weekend, Huddersfield look the same. They look like they're all over the place. Armstrong was an absolute thorn. Scored a hat-trick. And just cause problems all the way. And that's what we talk about Blackburn Rovers, that they're so unpredictable, and you don't know who's turning up for each game. And that was the problem at the weekend with Huddersfield Town. But Huddersfield, they've got to be worried. You know what I mean? I mean for the future and for next season, not just. Yeah. I think they've got enough points this season still.
Yeah, like I'm going to talk about Adam Armstrong a bit later on, but like what I will say is I feel like the reason Blackburn are not where they should be in the league is because the other players haven't supported Adam Armstrong. Because we said at the start of the season, I did particularly, that the players they brought in on top of what they already had meant that they should have been right up there in the playoffs. Huddersfield Town, they got problems, mate. They were rubbish last year. They were,
it's a continuation.
Like, the managers, they treated those two managers like garbage. And then they've kind of gone to pieces this year.
Well, nothing's improved, has it? You know, nothing's improved. No. They haven't shown any progress, because I thought they were doing well at one point, and then you look at the league table over 46 games or 44 games at the minute. They're in a worse position now than they were last year, in terms of where they are in the league. So they haven't made any progress.
Yes, 100%, mate. Coventry City next, mate. They lost to Preston.
Yeah,
they've had a long but successful season. Coventry, they'll be so pleased. With where they've finished. Yeah,
they've had an amazing season, and listen, the 3 games previous, which they won, have kept them in the division. It's relief, you know what I mean? And I guarantee the players now will be playing with tired legs. They'll be playing with injuries, and they'll just want to get through the end of the season and start again next season, have a good break for the first time in a long time, and then focus in the manager bringing in some better players to help with the players that they've got, because for them to stay in this league is a huge achievement, a massive achievement, and they've done it. So fair play to everybody at Coventry City. But on the day against Preston North End, Preston were a good side on the day. They've got people who can hurt you. Brown scored a penalty, but we spoke about the Ched Evanses, we spoke about the Scott Sinclairs, we spoke about the Barkhausens. On any given day, they can hurt you. So Coventry City are no different. You know what I mean? And if Coventry City aren't at it from minute one, then you're going to find it difficult against a team like Preston North End.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And I think if Coventry can do a bit of wheeling and dealing, you know, they might be able to build on it for next year. But unfortunately, I think next season will be even harder again for them to stay up, because the team's coming down, the team's coming up. It's difficult. Right, I mentioned Bristol City. So Bristol City are next. I mentioned they're giving Nigel Pearson a new contract, which I stand by the fact that it's a weird one, because they haven't won a game in months, it feels like. But it's certainly in, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5...
8.
6, 8.
8 games.
And they haven't played well either, by the way.
Well, the board must be seeing something different to what we're watching. Against Luton Town, I watched the first half. I'll be honest. On Sunday, I thought they were excellent. 2-0 up. Naki Wells was excellent. Is it Nagy or Nagy? I thought he was very good as well. But to give 3 goals away and to lose the game is just criminal. You know what I mean? They've got some very young players. Are the young players a little bit naive and they can't see games out? You know what I mean?
They've got experience there, though, mate.
They have. They've got a good mix, and you know what I mean. But Bristol City, for me, they've underachieved this year. In previous seasons, they've been just floating around the playoffs and just not getting in them. So for me, next year, what's the expectation? Because Bristol City should be doing miles better than what they are, and they're really struggling.
Yeah. To clarify, I'm not saying because Gav says Nigel Pearson is his first choice for the Cardiff job. He's a good manager, and I agree. Nigel Pearson is an excellent manager. I think he does a lot of things that I like. However, why I say I'm surprised is because of how badly they've been playing and the results. Not just if they've been playing badly, but grinding out some draws and wins. Okay, but they've been losing a lot of football matches. So then to give him a new contract, that's what I find puzzling. It's unusual.
Well, football's a results business side, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So to not win an 8 and still get the job, then
It's a weird one, isn't it?
yeah, it's yeah. Let's put it on Cardiff fans about Mick McCarthy. If Mick McCarthy had lost 8 games on the bounce, would you be happy that he got a 2-year contract?
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
So
It's almost like the opposite to what they did, wasn't it? Okay, next up is Forest. Drew with Stoke.
yeah, the draw specialist, 3 draws out of the last 4 games, and obviously they're playing Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow, so it's just not looking very good for Sheffield Wednesday, I'll be honest. But from Nottingham Forest point of view, I think Chris Hughton would just be happy just to see the end of the season. I think it's been a disaster. He's got some very good footballers. Can he keep loose grabbing? Can he get Anthony Knockout on full time? Can he get the best out of Lyle Taylor? You know what I mean? The Harry Arters, the Sammy Amiobis, the Carl Jenkinsons, the Joe Colbecks. You know what I mean? They've got so much talent in that group, but they're just not performing very well as a collective team. And they've got a very good manager, but he'll be under pressure straight away to get results, because Nottingham Forest have underachieved for the last couple of seasons, and next year's a big season for them to turn it around.
Yeah, it's time, isn't it? They've been doing nothing for the last couple of years, really. They came close last year to the playoffs, in fairness, but for whatever reason they bottled it. But yeah, they got to improve a lot of things. Next up is Birmingham City. Be very happy with their season.
Unbeaten in 6. You know what I mean? The best thing they did was bring Lee Boyer in.
Should be the Cardiff manager.
Can he do the wheeling and dealing next year and bring some big hitters in, some Premier League players in to add to the already quality and young players that they've got? Because Birmingham City, if they're playing this well now and they take that into next season, there could be a force to be reckoned with, because it's a massive football club, big city. So it'll be interesting how it happens. But the beat Derby County away 1-0 down. Jukovic is like a reformed character under a new manager. He hasn't scored most of the season. Lee takes over, and all of a sudden he's scoring goals for fun. So some managers can get the best out of players, and if you can get a tune out of Lukas Jukovic as a target man, you've got a chance in the Championship, because he's a born goal scorer at this level.
Yeah, he's a very, very good footballer at this level, isn't he? And look, it's no secret I fancied Lee Bowyer for the Cardiff job when they gave it to Neil Harris. I like the way he plays football. He's got some good contacts. Didn't happen for whatever reason, but he's done a very good job since he's come in at Birmingham. He steadied the ship when they were just looking like they might get sucked into the relegation zone, and they're comfortably safe, and they had a good season. Blackburn Rovers, mate, next up.
Yeah, obviously we spoke about Huddersfield Town, about them looking like they were on the holidays, but Blackburn Rovers look the opposite. You know what I mean? Armstrong, who's had a phenomenal season this season. He got himself his 24th goal of the season in 38 games, which is a phenomenal turnaround, by the way, for a side who's in mid-table, by the way. You know what I mean? It's not like they've scored 100 goals and he's chipped in with a couple. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for his goals, they would be in serious trouble. He's 24 years old. Will Blackburn Rovers keep him? Because you look at Ollie Watkins, you look at some other players who've left the Championship. Is he going to get an opportunity in the Premier League? If he gets an opportunity, Blackburn Rovers could be cashing in on £35-40 million easily next season.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? It's Blackburn have got a phenomenal squad, mate. They should be like right up there. I don't know what's gone on there this year, but I guess we'll see. Do you think Tony Mowbray keeps his job, mate, in the summer?
I'm probably biased.
I know he's a big mentor of yours. I'm
a Tony friend, and he's a hero of mine. But I want him still involved in football. I think he's underachieved this year. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? And I don't think he'll mind me saying that. But with the players he's got, if he can get a tune out of them consistently, and he keeps the Armstrongs of this world, and he can maybe put somebody next to him, a target man, to take the pressure off him a little bit. Because when Armstrong doesn't score, that's when Blackburn seem to struggle. Yes. If you can have a bit more support, and Bradley Dack can stay injury free, because he's had some horrific injuries over the last couple of seasons, Blackburn could have a chance. But they can't have a chance with the inconsistency what they're getting. You can't win 5-2 one week and get beat 4-0 the next. That's just not how the Championship works.
Yeah, no, you've got to have consistency to do anything, haven't you? Next up, Preston North End. Yeah,
we spoke about Coventry City. We spoke a little bit about Preston. So when you've got people like Brown, and you've got Barkhausen, and you've got Ched Evans, and you've got Maguire, you've got goals in your side. You know what I mean? They haven't had the consistency this year. They didn't have the start what they had last year, where they were always in and around the playoffs and they fell out of the playoff position at the end. But I don't think it was a disaster of a season. You know what I mean? You've still got very good players. If you can keep the nucleus of that side next year, you can. Who knows? You can push on towards the playoffs again, or the top 10, and just keep making progress. Because you've got to remember, obviously, they lost their centre half to Liverpool, so it left a big hole. So it's just about filling those holes with the right players and spending that money wisely and not probably overcutting your cloth accordingly. You know what I mean? You've got to make sure you're careful with it all.
Yeah, and on that note of sort of teams underachieving, really, we've talked about a few different teams now who've underachieved this year for a variety of reasons. Next up is Stoke City, and I think they're almost like the poster child for underachieving this year. Again, like Blackburn, with that squad, they should not be in the position in the league where they are. No,
but squads don't win titles, do they? You know what I mean? It's consistent teams. Managers have a philosophy. You know what I mean? I know. I've just read in the group chat there from Reece David Evans about teams being too inconsistent. But I look at the likes of Norwich. I look at the likes of Watford. I look at the likes of Bournemouth, and I look at that they don't make many changes during the season. I mean personnel wise, unless you have an injury, it keeps the same team. That's the consistency you need, because players know each other's jobs. And when somebody comes in, they make mistakes or they're not fit enough, and the results don't happen, and the old player comes back in the following game, and that's what I find about Stoke City, that the side is inconsistent. You know what I mean? Has he found that spine of the team? You know what I mean? Fletcher sometimes plays up front, sometimes Sam Vokes plays up front, sometimes it's somebody else. So it's so difficult to when you don't know your best 11, and you haven't really had a chance to do it. But big shout out to Matondo to score. You know what I mean? Obviously a very talented footballer, and now playing some football. You know what I mean? He's not getting a lot of minutes. You know what I mean? That was his first game in very long time, by the way. You know what I mean? Starting game, he played close to a full game for the first time in probably 2 months. So all he can do is pull out their performances and hope that he gets some more, and he can kick on again. He needs to play games for his development in football. He needs to play more football, especially with the Euros coming up in the summer. He needs to impress by being on the pitch.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, isn't it, when these players do go out on loan to championship clubs and then don't play. It must drive Premier League teams, European teams. It must drive them absolutely bananas, mate. Yeah. Where they send them out and then they don't play them. Cardiff have been guilty of it. I think, obviously with Benkovic most recently, but they've done it before with a few players. It must drive these teams, their parent clubs, nuts, because you want those players playing. That's why you're sending them out. So it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Millwall, mate.
Yeah, but listen, another bad week. Listen, they've played their last 4 games. They played Swansea, Brentford, Bournemouth, and Watford. So it's always going to be difficult. You played against Watford at the weekend with the Watford side looking for promotion, and when you give a penalty away like Billy Mitchell did, blatant penalty. You know what I mean? It was a blatant foul. He had an opportunity to bring him down outside the box, which he missed, and then still tried to make the second tackle to recover, and it was a bad decision. And once Watford scored, they were never going to relinquish that lead, and they found it difficult. But Millwall, listen, they'll be proud of the season they've had. I think Gary Rowland's doing a great job on not a massive budget, with some very good players, by the way. I think Billy Mitchell's an excellent player, very talented young boy, and if they can keep hold of him, if they do sell him, use the money to bring in 4 or 5 good players to utilise the players. But Jed Wallace is key to keep as well. Will he stay? Who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Reece says there, look at Harry Wilson, amazing number 10. Neil Harris chucked him on the wing and he wasted his time out there. Just makes the club look less attractive, the way you treat your loan players. And I agree with that. Like, if Liverpool next year, if Cardiff go to Liverpool and say, can we have X player on loan? And they'll say, well, you played Harry Wilson out of position for 6 months. And then he had a couple of good games at the end where he was played in the number 10 role. It's difficult, isn't it? If Matonda, his parent club, but if they are they going to say, well, we're not going to send you back on loan there because they played 1 game?
Yeah. So listen. Why
it's got to have an impact, haven't it?
Yeah. Well, you go on loan to play minutes and play football games because there's a means to the loan system. It's either to put you in the shop window to sell you on, like Liverpool did with Brewster, or they play you to get experience to come back and play for your parent club. So none of that's happening for certain players. So what are the players getting out of it and what the club's getting out of it? Absolutely zero.
Spot on, mate. Luton Town, next.
Listen, they were 2-0 down against Bristol City, dead and buried. And somehow that they ended up turning it around and winning 3-2. So I can't give Luton Town, the players, the staff, the manager, any more credit than what they deserve this year. They've had an absolutely unbelievable season, and the result like that side just says it all for the full season. That probably would have been a 3-4, 5-0 defeat last year, because that's what happened. But this year they can turn it around with the quality and the desire against a very good side, by the way, on paper, and still run away comfortable winners with 45 minutes of decent football. So it'll be difficult again next year because there's better teams coming up and there's better teams coming down. So the league's going to be a bigger pot and a bigger mess. But it's going to be so interesting because Luton Town deserve to be there. So why shouldn't they do just as well or better?
100%, mate. 100%. Queen's Park Rangers, their good run came to a crashing halt.
Yeah, I think, listen, we spoke about Norwich City and Norwich City partying a little bit and enjoying. Norwich City came back with a bit of a point to prove, and unfortunately for QPR, they hit them. They got hit on a bad day, but fine margins against side. They missed a penalty after 54 minutes, and then Aarons goes up the other end and scores after 57. So it's a difficult one, but the fine margins. You score that penalty, it's 1-1. Instead, you're 2-0 down, and you're fighting against a battle against the best side in the league. And then it's downhill, really. You know what I mean? But they got themselves back in the game through Dykes, but then they were chasing the game and they get hit on the break again. So no disgrace. You're playing against the best side in the division who've already achieved promotion. But QPR will be proud of themselves. 10th in the league. You know what I mean? If they can sort their consistency out a little bit, they might even do better than they did this season.
100%. Next up, Middlesbrough, mate, had a very, very good season this year.
Yeah, listen, I've done a couple of Middlesbrough shows this week about, obviously, with one of the young boys scored in his second game of the season, Josh Coburn. He scored his first goal, which is great. You know what I mean? I know exactly the week he's having. I know exactly what he felt on Saturday night. But Middlesbrough were the men against boys on Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, in my opinion. I thought Balassi was outstanding. Coburn so proud that he came and scored a goal. What more? He's had a great season. He's reinvented himself at a football club. The biggest challenge Neil Warnock's got is, can he keep all these players? Because Balassi's invented himself again. So's Watmore. He's losing Fletcher. He's losing Britt Sombolonga. If you don't keep the two players I've just mentioned at the start, Balassi and Watmore, then you're gonna try and find a centre forward from nowhere. Because for me, Akpom is not your answer. And you can't be playing players who you don't think are good enough. You know what I mean? He's set his stall out. He knows exactly what he's going to do. But Middlesbrough are in great hands. They've made progress. Last season they should have got relegated or could have got relegated. This year potentially going to finish in the top 10. Next season I expect nothing but playoffs, because that's the progress that clubs should be making.
Make progress, haven't you?
Yeah.
And let's be no mistake, mate. Middlesbrough was so close to going down. It wasn't like they were there. They very, very nearly went down. So to get to where they are, I think it's a massive credit to the club. I think it's a massive credit to Steve Gibson, because I think some football clubs looked at Neil Warnock. He finished at Cardiff, didn't finish the way he would have liked. Maybe they thought he was done, and Steve Gibson, has obviously gone and spoke to him, got him in. And he's done a phenomenal job with that Middlesbrough squad.
He's done great. But
brought some young players through as well, mate.
Yeah,
making a bit of a point, maybe.
Yeah. And this is what I've said. Listen, you've got his interview after the game, by the way, on Saturday was amazing. Neil's that Josh Coburn had just scored, obviously, his first ever goal, and the reporter said, "Is he going to play the next two games? Because you've got a young player on the time, having the time of his life." And he turned around and said that no, he won't play for the rest of the season, because he needs to keep learning his trade. And I just thought it was genius, but you've got if he plays the next two games and doesn't play very well, then you've ruined his week, probably his season for this summer. Listen, he probably will play tomorrow, and it's a bit of mind games. Or if he's sub, he'll come on and he's nurturing him. But Neil's been there, he's worn a t-shirt. He knows exactly what he's doing with these players. So these players are in good hands. Yes, be disappointed that you're not playing, but be proud that the manager thinks so highly of you that he's given you that opportunity to play for Middlesbrough Football Club at 18 years old for you to score your first goal. So for me, it's all good.
Did that bring back memories, mate? Seeing him score for Middlesbrough, and obviously it's something that you achieved.
Yeah, it brought back great memories. The messages I got weren't great. I mean, people saying, "Are you gutted that somebody's taken over your mantle that 18 years old scored at the side?" People just trying to throw a negative at you. Listen, I was so proud of a young player who's worked so hard to get his opportunity, and you could see the joy in his face. I'd have loved the fans to be there so you could sample that noise and that atmosphere when you do score. Because you remember your first goal forever, and you'll remember that for various reasons. One, for the COVID reason, for no fans, but he will score again, and he'll score in front of a crowd, and he will enjoy that just as much as he did on Saturday. But listen, it brought back some great memories for me personally, and those kind of moments and those kind of memories just deliver you forever. But I'm living them now through somebody else, because it's someone else can do it, and you hear all these good things. But yeah, it's nice to reminisce through somebody else and seeing young lads doing well.
Can't fault you, mate. It's weird, isn't it, how people have got to put like a negative on stuff.
Yeah.
Just makes no sense at all to me, but there we go. There we got. Next up is the mighty Cardiff City finally won a game of football.
Yeah, listen, I've just said there about Armstrong, Adam Armstrong. If Cardiff City didn't have Kiefer Moore, I think they would be in a whole world of mess,
mate.
You know what I mean? He's been an absolute phenomenal signing.
You think he stays in the summer? I don't see.
Yeah, I do, because I think Cardiff City will price him out of a move, because they spent big money on him.
You're telling me that if I don't know, I'm trying to think of someone, Norwich, whoever, the lower Premier League team comes in with 20 million up front for Kiefer Moore, the Cardiff City will turn it down? Not a chance.
I don't think he'll go to a lesser side. I think if he just got the Premier League, I think he will, a little bit like Ollie Watkins.
Well, I just mean whoever, like West Ham or anyone. But I just think the club will take it.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because money talks, but at the same time, the player's got to be happy and content with the club that he's going to sign for. And I think.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that he would necessarily want to go. But I just think if any club offers Cardiff City 20 million up front, not in instalments, Cardiff would take it.
I think it all depends as well what kind of tournament he has in the summer. Because if he has a good tournament in the summer, you also haven't just got English teams wanting to sign him. You could have Spanish teams, you could have Italian teams, German teams. So the problem Cardiff City might have is, if he has a good summer and scores a couple of goals against one of those big nations, then potentially he's going to go to another country, because the lifestyle talks, the opportunity talks, the length of contract, the salaries. You know what I mean? The Premier League is an amazing division, by the way. But you look at some of the Welsh players who've gone abroad, for example, and done really well. He could be one of those. Because it's where he plays.
He could talk to those players as well. Do you know? Like he talked to Gareth Bale, talked to Rotunda and Ramsey, and
totally agree.
But Reece makes a good point. He says Burnley like a target man, and I think he would be perfect for the way Burnley play, and they do need a striker. Not saying that he would be enticed by Burnley, like it's not like a glamorous club, but he'd play football for him.
Yeah, listen. I look at Chris Wood. Chris Wood's got a hat-trick the other day, and Chris has never been touted as one of the best in the Premier League, or even one of the very good centre-forwards in the Premier League. And he's consistent. He does the job what Sean Dyche wants him to do, and it's disrespectful sometimes. You know what I mean? Because he's not the fashionable, plays off the shoulder with a bit of pace. He's a target man. He does the horrible stuff. But he's effective, and he's scored goals throughout his career, always by doing the right thing.
Holgate Dash says, didn't Kiefer Moore sign for Cardiff because he was homesick? I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. You know, like Reece says there, Burnley could double his wage, give 20 million, and Dyche has said he needs more strikers up front. It's difficult, isn't it? It's one of them. Like, ultimately, it will depend if he wants to play Premier League football, or if he wants to hold out and see if he can get it with Cardiff. And it depends how happy he is at Cardiff as an area, and, you know, I don't know his situation like if he's married and stuff like that. There's other things that come into it, isn't there? Like if he's come back to Wales and he's happy back in Wales, then it's going to have to be the right move for him to uproot that. But my original point was that if any club offers Cardiff City 20 million, Cardiff City will take it.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's just that's just the way it is. But I would love to ask Mehmet Dalman that, I gotta say. Yeah, he answered the questions honestly the last time he was coming on, so
Why not?
it is coming to the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to send that text. Next up, Reading, mate. Oh, it's going to be
Frustrating.
Gotta be frustrating.
Yeah, upsetting for them. Listen, when they've been in the playoffs all season, and when they went out the playoffs, they haven't gone back in, and now they can't get back in till next season. I think it'll be a struggle. I'll be honest. I think they're going to lose a few players because a few of the top end Championship clubs potentially will take a risk on some of their players. I think it's they've had a good season, solid season. I think it coincides with Michael Morrison being injured. Obviously, Michael was one of our guests on Monday's show. He's missed a couple of games, and they haven't won in some of the games that he's missed. And frustrating because I know the amount of consecutive games that he played, but I think just the word's frustrating for Reading because they play Swansea at the weekend. Difficult game. You're 1-0 up, you're 2-1 down, then you equalise in the 92nd minute, and that's the game which means that you don't get in the playoffs, which is so frustrating for the football club because you get a positive result and then there's a negative at the end of it. So it must be a strange feeling. Yeah,
it's a weird one, and there is these players who just influence their sides, isn't there? Like Michael Morrison, Kiefer Moore, where the team, when they're out of the team, even if they haven't been scoring, or in Michael Morrison's case, he doesn't score a lot of goals, but when he's in that team, Reading tend to win more often than not. They've got that type of personality. And Leslie made a good point there. He said he's noticed when Wood doesn't play for Burnley, they lose, and they rarely score. Like, he's a big player for them, but like you said, he doesn't seem to get the respect maybe that he deserves.
No.
He's not a fashionable name, is he?
Yeah, I'm talking by the Premier League. I think the Burnley fans and the manager and the players will understand how important he is. So I think Burnley won't care because if he is touted around, he's going to leave, and if he leaves a massive hole.
Yeah, and Reece says like Morrison for Cardiff is the same. He's a leader. He just offers something, doesn't he? There's one of those players. And Michael Morrison has definitely been the same for Reading. It's just a shame that they had a good season, but they've just missed out. Barnsley, mate, must be on top of the world. If you had told them at the start of this season that they'd make the playoffs, I just don't think they'd have believed you, mate. No,
listen, I totally agree. Listen, they'll be on a crest of a wave at the minute, and they're doing really well. The problem they've got now is the next two games. Do you rest some players and stop that consistency, performance-wise, or do you keep the flow going, keep the same team going, keep the performance levels going, ready to go into the playoffs flying? You know what I mean? They've got that decision. It's a dilemma because they've still got a couple of games because a couple of games to go. They play Preston tomorrow. And then they play Norwich at home last game. You know what I mean? Which is obviously a game from a playoff point of view. Norwich could get the title tomorrow, so it's a proper dead rubbing game, a pointless exercise. So it won't be a great spectacle from in my point of view. But I think it's a stick or twist moment. Do they make those kind of calls, or does he just wipe tomorrow's game out and save people for the last game to have that consistency going forward to give players a chance to get in that playoff side?
Yeah, 100%. But I think they've got out of the four teams of the playoff, they've got the smallest squad, haven't they? And they've just been on this incredible run. And I look at Swansea and I look at Brentford and Bournemouth, and I think if I was them, I'd be resting a big portion of my players tomorrow and the game. Barnsley, I just think they're on such a run. They must be on such a high from making the playoffs. I almost think it's worth the risk of losing a player through injury to keep that momentum going. The best thing they've got for them, and I don't mean it's in a disrespectful way, because we've been saying since the start of last season how good they are going forward. It was just whether they would be able to defend and keep clean sheets. they create so many chances, but I almost feel like in their case, keeping that momentum going is almost as important as resting a couple of players. It's a difficult one.
Momentum's key side for me. Momentum's just that's what's got them through the season is momentum, is consistency in performance levels. So why, if it's not broke, why fix it?
What's their form? Like, how many points have they taken, say, from the last... I'd love to know how many points they've taken from the last 15, 20 games.
I'll go down now. So I'll go down from obviously the last game they played. So we've got win, loss, win, draw, loss, win, draw, win.
Incredible, that is. For a team, by the way, who nearly got relegated not so long ago. To go on a run like that in this league is sensational. Good manager, and mate, those playoffs bit, that 3 teams on 77 points, by the way, and then Brentford on 81 is incredible, mate.
But look at the clubs who are in there, though, Simon. We spoke Brentford, best football inside in the division by a country mile. Bournemouth, Premier League footballers from last season. Swansea, consistent. They've been in the playoffs for the last how many years? Barnsley, you know what I mean? You look below. Reading, ex-Premier League club. Cardiff City, ex-Premier League club. Middlesbrough, ex-Premier League club. Stoke City, full of internationals. Blackburn Rovers, won the Premier League before. Birmingham City, Nottingham Forest. You know what I mean? They've earned that place in the playoffs. Absolutely fantastic. They should be so proud of themselves. And do you know what? Don't rest on it. Go to the Premier League. Go back to the Premier League. Because I remember when they got promoted that year, and listen, it was a little bit too far for them in the Premier League. I remember when Ginola used to walk through the defenders and stuff, but it was a little bit too far for them, and they come across some exceptional sides and in the Premier League that year. But you know what I mean, it was a good experience for the fans and the players, and hopefully they can get it again.
Yeah, I think so. I would, like I said a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? Like, if Cardiff are not getting in the playoffs, I want Barnsley to just go all the way and just win it. Just go on this, like, just win another 4 games now, or 5 games now. Just win them all, 5 on a bounce, and just walk
bounce,
it.
you got the Premier League.
Love it, mate. Exactly that. And they've done it already a couple of times this season. They've won 5 on the bounce. So, why not? Next up is Swansea City, mate.
Listen, they'll be a bit disappointed as in results wise. Obviously the points got them in the playoffs, but at one point they had all 3. So you know what I mean, you can't afford to switch off. If they switch off in the playoffs, you know, if they switch off in the playoffs, then they're going to regret it. You know what I mean? So it's about consistency, like I've been talking about all show today. Is consistency, not switching off, fine margins. You know what I mean? Because if they switch off against Brentford, Bournemouth, or Barnsley, there's no going back against those kind of sides, and you're out of it, and you're out of the playoffs. It's like semi-final or final. You know what I mean? Will they learn from the heartache of last season? Only time will tell. But same thing. Where do they want to finish? Who do they want to play? Do they want to stay where they are and play Bournemouth, or do they want to go and finish 3rd and play the team who finishes 6th? It's a lottery now. It's up to teams to finish where they want to play. Do they want to play the home leg, second leg? If you want that, then you've got to finish 3rd or 4th. So it's down to the teams now to decide where they want to do.
Yeah, you got to. For me, like, you can't. You just got to try not to make mistakes now, because you're going to get punished, and then the season's over. Season could be over with a slip, like Steven Gerrard, or like anything, can it? A slip, an injury, a penalty, anything, and it's gone. You're out of the playoffs, and it's done. Yeah. We've all seen it. We've all experienced it as fans. 1 minute you're doing something, and the next minute you've lost the game, it's all over, and you're going home with your head in your hands. Swansea have got to be careful that they don't make these silly mistakes. Bournemouth, mate, in my opinion, probably the favourites for the playoffs. Where do you see them going? Obviously, they lost to Brentford, which will give Brentford... Sorry, I was just laughing at Gavin's comment. He picked up on my little dig. Well done, Gav.
I've seen it. Listen, obviously that game gave Watford the chance to get promoted, because obviously that was the early game, and it'll give Brentford some confidence that they can go there and win the game. They can keep a clean sheet. They had 10 men as well, but it's important for Bournemouth now to understand that they've got to get their best 11 players on the pitch for those playoff semi-finals or potential final. You know what I mean? Because you've got the likes of Jack Wilshere, you've got the Solankis, you've got the Danjuma, you've got the Brooks, you've got the Stanislavs, you've got the Lima. They need all of those players fit and flying and sharp for those playoff semi-finals. So when I'm talking about consistency, I think Barnsley, I mean, it's such a different position than Bournemouth, because Bournemouth have got these big players they need fit for those games. Barnsley, I think they're on that much of a confidence boost and they're doing so well. Any player could go and fill in because as a football club they're doing so well. But Bournemouth need those big players out on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think there's different pressures on each club, isn't there? Like, so for me, there's no pressure on Barnsley. Swansea bottled it last year, so there's pressure on them. Bournemouth arguably would have hoped for automatics, so there's pressure on them as the former Premier League team. Brentford went to pieces at the end of last season when it really counted. There's a lot of different stories and pressure on these clubs that makes it just fascinating, mate. It really does.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
So then we got next to Brentford, mate.
But obviously Brentford have had a couple of games this week. They've won 1-0 twice, which is un-Brentford-like. Normally they win 4-1, 5-2, scoring goals. But they go to Bournemouth. I thought they were excellent. I thought they did a really good job defensively. Patrick Janssen got sent off. Obviously got the goal late in the game through Mbeumo. And then I thought against Rotherham they would have rested players, but they didn't. They still kept the strong side out. They still had the Ivan Toney's, and Mbeumo scored again. Canos played. I thought they were very good again. So it's what we say, that the manager obviously has the same philosophy that we've been talking about keeping players playing week in, week out, and going into the last few games of the season with consistency and performance levels.
Yeah, it's tricky, mate, isn't it? And then you've got the mighty Watford back in the Premier League, confirmed. Yeah. Must be thrilled.
Yeah,
I'm sure Elton John, Graham Taylor, the likes of them will be loving it, mate.
Yeah, listen, look at their players. You know what I mean? Look at the squad they've got. You know what I mean? They deserve to win the game at the weekend. And I look at their squad side. I look at the bench. You know what I mean? You've got your Cathcart, your Chalobah, your Ben Foster, Andre Gray. It's absolutely outrageous. Troy Deeney's. Yeah, it's absolutely scary. But fair play to the manager. Xisco, I thought he's turned the fortunes around of the club. They look so confident. Your Tom Cleverley, your Dan Goslings, your Sars, your Pedros, your Sema. Absolutely fantastic achievement going back to the Premier League, and they've still got a little bit of a chance to get the title, but I think Norwich tomorrow will probably have it in the bag by come 5 o'clock.
Yeah, Kay Child says, I saw Ashley Young's been linked with Watford return next year. I got to be honest, I don't think he gets in that Watford team at the moment, unless they sell someone.
It depends.
Good squad player, good experienced squad player. Actually,
it depends where they want to play him. If they're going to play him fullback, potentially he might.
Yeah, good delivery as well, isn't he? Yeah, I can see the advantage of him being, if he's reasonably priced and wages and stuff, because I'm sure he gets paid a pretty penny. Like good experience in ex-England international, superb set piece delivery. So yeah, I just think as a winger he doesn't get in their side. Then, of course, we got Norwich. I think had a point to prove, mate. Maybe people gave him a bit of criticism, rightly. Yeah. And they just had to.
Yeah, proved it. Showed how professional they are. Listen, they've set up this season to get promoted. Tick that off. They've now set up to win the league. A win tomorrow against. I've just seen that. I've just wrote down. I've wrote down they're playing Reading tomorrow at home. Reading are going to be a little bit hurt. A win for Norwich gets them the title and. Party time, you know what I mean? Because they still really, do you know what? They still really deserve it. They've been the best consistent footballing side in the division, so I think the Premier League will enjoy having them back.
100%, mate. Cracking point from Reece there. He says, "Imagine being a Watford fan. The last time you saw your team play, like in the stadium, was in the Premier League. The next time you see him play will be in the Premier League. Yeah. So they never watched him in the Championship. Like that's crazy, you know.
Yeah,
So, let's do 2 up, 2 down, mate, and then we'll just touch on that story very quickly that we were going to talk about. But yeah, congratulations to Watford, Norwich as well, like being the best 2 teams in the league by far, and thoroughly deserve it to go up. Okay, so let's go with negatives first, as is tradition. Who's your first down, mate?
I've gone Ben Wilson, the Coventry City goalkeeper. It's a decision he made against against Preston North End was just outrageous, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'll go for him, giving a penalty away. He didn't need to do it. He misjudged it, ball over his head, and Rugby tackled him, give a penalty away. He was lucky to stay on the pitch.
Yeah. So I went for the Sheffield Wednesday defence, just because they were. I think you mentioned it earlier on in the show, actually. Schoolboy stuff, really terribly bad, like juniors. Next down, mate, for you.
I've gone for Derby County, and just the way that they just don't see games out. You know what I mean? I said earlier on that a point would have been a really good result and would have probably spearheaded their relegation fears and helped them out. So I think they'll be under pressure come tomorrow. But you know what I mean? How are the players going to handle it? How the manager going to handle it? Because he's never been in this position before. He's always been looking down, not looking up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, mate, isn't it? I've gone for Bristol. They capitulated 2-0 up half time and lost 3-2. Can't be doing that. But the young squad, hopefully they'll learn from it. I'm sure Nigel Pearson will, will get them right for it. But Reece says his down is John Sheridan for jumping ship before the rats and the sinking, as it were. But there we go. First up of the weekend, mate.
I've gone for Watford. Just plain and simple.
Yeah,
Promotion, deserved it. You know what I mean? Best. I did it for Norwich last week, so Watford.
So yeah, I was going to go with Watford probably, but I went with Adam Armstrong. Another superb performance. He's been superb all season, mate. Yeah, and a real high point. Blackburn will do very well to keep hold of him.
Yeah, totally agree.
Second up for you, mate.
I was going to go Josh Coburn for scoring his first Middlesbrough goal, so apologies to Josh, apologies to all Middlesbrough fans, but I've gone for Joe Jacobson for scoring a goal against his boyhood side because obviously came on the show, a good friend of mine, so very proud that he did it, and just gutted that his family and friends weren't able to go on there and watch the game at the same time.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll be back in Cardiff City colours next year. I've gone for Kiefer Moore. Pretty much the same as Adam Armstrong, actually. Another superb performance. Is the main man for his team. Been great all season. And Cardiff City will do very, very well to keep hold of him in the summer, in my opinion, if they want to. Is where it is, I suppose.
Yeah. Great job.
So, mate, we're already a little bit over time, so I do want to talk about this story, though, mate. I don't want to cut it from it. Earlier on, when I was just having a little look on, the foosball websites, I came across a story from Scotland, and this guy, his name is David Cox, plays for Albion Rovers in Scottish League 2. On Friday, confirmed that basically the Scottish FA have announced they're going to investigate these allegations where he was a substitute against Stenhousemuir, and some players from the other bench were going kind of back and forth, and one of those players made a comment about, I just want to get it right. So basically, David Cox has openly talked about a number of times he's battled depression and the abuse which he's received within the game. And he actually, I think, tried to kill himself at one point. Or was certainly suicidal. It's not clear if he did try, but from what he said, it seems he did. And basically, this player said, this is what David Cox said. He said, one of the boys in the Stenny team, we were having a back and to and fro, and they had a go at my mental health and told me I should have done it right the first time. Look, bang out of order that is, mate. It should be said, to be fair, the other team have denied it and said it didn't happen. One of the things which angers me, apart from obviously the content and stuff and what it is, one of the things angers me is he tried to tell the referee, and the referee said, well, I didn't hear it, so I want nothing to do with it. That's a problem for me, because if he's reporting racial abuse, is that what the referee's going to say? If so, that's a problem. Like, if you want to stamp out racial abuse or homophobic abuse, or you want to change stigmas around mental health, when it's reported, regardless of whether you heard it, you have to at least acknowledge it and make a note of it and make sure that the victim of that abuse feels not vindicated, but like feels, you know, that their concern or their upset or whatever, however you want to word it, is, you know, like that they're being listened to. Basically, I wasn't happy with that at all when I read that the referee had basically, you know, said go and sit down, stop moaning. It's bang out of order, mate. It leaves a bitter taste for me, I gotta say.
There's a couple of points. I'm not happy. I'll be honest. I'm boiling inside from what I hear. We're telling people to be open and honest about how they're feeling, and then we've got a player, a young man, 32 years old, who's come out and told everybody how he's feeling, and then now he regrets telling people how he feels. So we're going to get people now who won't say how they feel because they're going to be scared about coming out and people saying all these things. You've got some cowards at a football club, by the way, Stenhousemuir Football Club. If one of your players has said it and you've heard him and you're not backing up a fellow professional footballer,
David Cox, yeah,
that's absolutely bang out of order, absolutely cowardly. You know what I mean? If he said it, there's a consequence. If someone said it, let them take the consequence. Don't back him up and say it, because if they get found out that he has said it, you're just as bad as he is by saying it, by covering up. You know what I mean? And that's absolutely disgusting. You know what I mean? We're all in this together. We're all in this world together. We all have mental health. We all have physical health. We all have good days. We all have bad days. But listen, don't hang somebody out to dry, and a poor lad is giving up football because of it. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean, if that was me and I'd said something, I would feel so guilty. It would be scary, and I would want to either make a public apology or go to his house and tell him how sorry I am and get him back into football, because do you know what? It's not fair. It's not fair on the lad, on his family. It's not fair on his team, his players, the fans, and all because some idiots think it's clever to say some negative comments about him. No.
Yeah, and like that's one part of it I didn't actually think of initially, but yeah, you make a bang on point, mate. If they're going back and forth on the bench, other people would have heard it. Particularly, like, obviously his club has backed him to the hilt. They've given him time off to get it sorted, and I don't know whether he looks like he's going to not play anymore, but hopefully he will come back. Hopefully. But like you say, those Stenhousemuir players, if any of them, or the coaching staff, if any of them have heard it, they have to say, like, they can't hide behind this wall of like loyalty, because things will never stop. Like, things will never change if you know, like, if people keep covering and covering for people, or just not saying, yeah, I did hear that. Or yes, I did see him do that. Or yes, I did see this and that. And like, until that happens, and you break that wall of like loyalty or silence, things will never change, mate.
But Leslie's put a comment in there about racism will never stop. They can do. Why won't it stop? It's only going to stop because we have that mentality that it's not going to stop, because people have a choice to do it. If people don't do it, it doesn't happen. Yeah. If people don't want to say negative comments about people, it won't happen. People are doing it because they're uneducated, and it's not it's not fair on these kind of people. So it's, for me, if it has been said, then there's consequences.
We should say, like, there's two sides to every story, and the guy who has allegedly said it and his club have said that it didn't happen. Now, just as we said about Ryan Giggs last week, you shouldn't hang someone out to dry before all the facts and everything has come to light. But this guy, David Cox, there's no benefit to him doing what he's done.
No.
Like, but there's no benefit to him leaving at half-time and quitting football.
If it's been said and there's been an argument between two players, then have some banter. Don't say something like that to him. You know what I mean? I just think there's crossed the line. The line's being crossed. If he said it, the line's being crossed. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he has said it, because I don't know. All I'm doing is reading. But like you said, what's he got to gain by selling his story or telling his story? Yeah. If it hasn't happened, it's just pointless.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because it's not a weird one, but like, I know he said he's quit at the moment, and like Gav said, it was in the paper today that he's quit. Like, but I know his club have also said that the door is still open, and they've given him as much time as he wants to decide what he wants to do, or if he wants to take some time off. I think, judging by what the club said, they're hoping that the player will get charged, and then obviously he's vindicated then, whereby people believe, he feels like people will believe in what he's saying, and they're hoping that he'll then come back to football, because it would be sad, if this guy, I know he's only a part-time footballer in terms of it's not his full-time job, but he must be half decent, like he's playing professional football.
Where do we stand? Where do we stand on if this player gets found guilty for Stenhouse Muir, then surely he's going to get the book thrown at him because he's lied. The club's lied.
Yeah, there's a problem there, isn't there? If it gets
problem.
proven, if one player comes out and said, "Well, actually, yeah, he did say it," then there's a massive problem, because not just him, but Stenhouse Muir as a football club have said that it didn't happen. So
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, mate. And I tell you what, you should never, I can't, I don't know, it baffles me, why someone would say something to someone who's already had suicidal thoughts. Why you would say something like that is mind-blowing, mate. Because, I don't want to, play the what-if game, but you imagine, mate, that, the worst possible outcome happened, a few days later or something, or the next week. You never mind football and changing the stigma around mental health. That's someone's life. And that throwaway sentence, which that guy has allegedly said, could have had a massive effect. Like you said, everyone's had issues with mental health, and there's a large percentage of people who will have had suicidal thoughts or that type of thing, and words and a throwaway sentence like that can be the difference between pushing someone over the edge. And I don't know, I find it, I know that seems almost a little bit extreme, but it's not, because this guy's already been there and done that. So it's not
listen, I totally agree, Si. It's disgusting.
If they have lied, mate, Stenhouse Muir, I don't even know what the ban should be for the player in the club. But if they've all closed ranks and lied about it, they should get punished. I just don't know what it should be. The player, do you ban him for a season or how long? What what's the? I don't know. It's weird. Right, guys, we'll be back on Monday live for a question and answer, latest news show, just featuring myself and Andy this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can throw some subjects and questions. There's no Super Kev unscripted tonight. We'll be back next Friday with our new sponsor. And Sunday we have a new episode of My Story, which is a very, very interesting one with rapper T-Rev. Big thank you to Bespoke Financial. Big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever for all their support. Thank you to everyone who's watched, downloaded, commented, asked questions, all that good stuff. It's been a long one, and I could barely speak because I've been struggling all night with my throat. But we got it there, so it is what it is. We could talk about we could talk about this stuff forever and ever and ever. But Andy's pleasure as always, mate.
Yeah, loved it. Looking forward to Monday. It's going to be different. I'll have some surprises. I've been looking at the comments, so I'll give the people what they're looking for. I hope.
Oh, there was a question earlier which I saved and I haven't answered. Gaz said, "Is Andy going to do the Sunday series?" I'll let Andy answer that.
Yes, of course. I've already told Si that I'm going to do it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Reliving the moments, mate.
Yeah, and I think that's important. It's important. I've got a story to tell, good and bad, by the way. You know what I mean? Which might help other people. You know what I mean? If they're in a similar position, or you know what I mean? I think that's the good thing about telling the story, that if it helps one person, it does the job, and if it inspires another person, then surely it helps another person. So I'm very grateful of how lucky I've been in football and in my life. So I like to pass on anything I can.
Yes, spot on, mate. I'm really looking forward to recording it. We've got some blockbuster guests to finish that series off over the next month or so. And when I say blockbuster, like some of the ones which I've been chatting to, they are blockbuster, top level, the best of the best, as it were, starting with Andy Campbell.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. I'm really pleased I didn't lose my voice. Well done. See you soon. Check the show out Sunday.
See you guys.
Check the show out on Monday. Bye.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.